It's been an absolute bloodbath on the markets over the past week. And in this episode of the Wealth Nation podcast, we take a deep dive into what's really going on in terms of the tech stocks in the United States, the Fed in the US, and also in South Africa. What can we expect in the coming year, and what you need to do to protect your finances? The Wealth Nation podcast is brought to you by Solomon Wealth Management. Solomon Wealth Management is an innovative team of wealth managers that addresses the entirety of your life, your family, your business, your future, one facet at a time. We use our skill and expertise to the consideration of what you have accumulated and how best to administer it through life's changes. From financial counsel on managing your wealth to careful contemplation of how to transfer it to future generations, it's your vision for your future combined with our skill and expertise to help you reach financial excellence. So if you want to sit with us one-on-one, go to www.solomonwealth.co.za, click on the Get Started button, and we could be chatting one-on-one. Okay, so if you haven't already checked your investments, don't. If you're heavy into tech stocks like I am, it's been an absolute bloodbath. So the Nasdaq has tumbled 2% last Friday. It's actually been the worst week last week since 2020. And they say it's going to be falling a lot more as well. So the Nasdaq posted an overall loss of 7.6% for the week. And also the Dow Jones and the S&P 500 closed out the third straight week of losses in their worst weeks since 2020. We also see the tech stocks. So the bulk of these indexes, we find the tech stocks in there, and it's Netflix. They've had a horrible quarter. As things begin to open up, folks are watching less and less television. They're at home less. They're watching less Netflix. And the market is somewhat saturated. There's a lot more players coming in as well. So the investors are not looking very keenly at Netflix, and their shares have tumbled by 28%. 21.8% as well. Tesla also losing 5.3% on Friday. Amazon and Meta, that's Facebook, they fell 6% and 4.2%. So it's a bloodbath, okay? All of these stocks are very overlapping when it comes to the Nasdaq and to the S&P 500. So things are low, but we don't panic when we hear things like this. It's actually an opportunity. I see it as a sale. I'm gearing up to make more purchases, because it's lower. The markets are lower. It's going to go up eventually as things stabilize. As we get back to normality, things will stabilize. It will go up. The market moves in a cycle. So the big thing that happens in January in the United States is the Federal Reserve. That's like the Reserve Bank in the United States. They have their policy meeting, just like how our Reserve Bank meets. They have their various policies and they decide on the interest rate. So we saw that during COVID-19, the Americans were getting tons of money from the Federal Reserve. Federal Reserve was just printing and handing over the stimulus checks to the Americans. So what the Americans did was they were spending. So we have an influx of currency into the market, diluting the value of the dollar. Okay, in the United States, you got to pay a lot more for the basic stuff, and people are feeling it. And we see petrol prices are up in the US as well. So one of the things that the Fed could do to combat this inflation is to increase interest rates. Interest rates in the United States are near zero, okay? They're talking about a handful of rate hikes this year. So there's kind of panic, and people are waiting to hear what happens. And the Fed meets on Tuesday. So it's going to be an interesting week. All right, so we could see lots of rate increases from the US as well. And for sure, the Reserve Bank is going to be following suit to try and combat our inflation, because our inflation is very, very high. Production costs are high. The whole supply chain, the entire world supply chain is completely backlogged. I was trying to order an iPhone on the iStore a couple of weeks ago, and there's a 4 to 6 week waiting time on the iPhone. That's because the chips have not been produced because of the various lockdowns, and there's a huge backlog. So it's not just the iPhone. There's other consumer goods that work with these kind of chips as well. So this is the state on how things are. And we're going to have to live with it for a while the world catches up due to those heavy lockdowns that just caused massive backlogs on the world's supply chain. It's also been an awful week for cryptocurrencies. The world's most valuable cryptocurrency, that is Bitcoin, fell by about 8% on Saturday, trading at around $35,000 for one Bitcoin. And we remember last November, they were peaking at around $65, with the record high of around $69 or so. So that's almost half. They're trading at almost half. I see it as a huge sale. I'm taking advantage of all these opportunities because the world is just in a bit of a panic. What's been going on that's impacting us on our side, it's the inflation in the US, the big Fed decision that's coming up, and the tech stocks taking a tumble, and the cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is sitting at half the value. So on the South African side, we can expect rate hikes as well. We see the pundits telling us to expect at least 3 more rate hikes from the South African Reserve Bank. And they're expecting interest rates to reach around 5.75% by the end of 2023 and 6.75% by the end of 2024. So with our inflation sitting very high, the cost of fuel is not helping things. Eskom is hitting us with another 20% increase this year. Municipal taxes have increased anywhere from 15 to 20%. So all of those things are playing a part in driving up inflation. And here comes the Reserve Bank that wants to combat that by increasing the rates, the rate of lending. So if you have bad debt, high consumer debt, take advantage of the low interest rates and pay them off. All right, so that's just a recap of what happened this past week. It's a waiting game. Hopefully, we can have some more positive news when we chat next week on the Wealth Nation podcast. And from there, we'll have a clear direction of, I wouldn't say a clear direction. We'll have a better idea. It's kind of foggy right now. We have a better picture of what 2022 is going to bring us in terms of rates, in terms of inflation, and in terms of investment opportunities. All right, that's it for me on this episode of the Wealth Nation podcast. I'll chat to you next week.
Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to visit our website at www.financiallyfabulousfemales.com and sign up for our free investment masterclass.